Ethics and Crisis Management, Coaching Responsibilities. Ethics is defined as moral principles that govern a person's or group's behavior. In sport, ethics may deal with ideas about what is good or bad behavior. It may also help guide you in determining what is morally right or wrong. Your values and ethics will help you develop your coaching philosophy and help guide you when you are forced to make hard decisions or deal with a crisis. A crisis is defined as a difficult or dangerous situation that needs serious attention. In sport, a crisis may be an unstable or crucial time or state of affairs in which a decisive change is impending, whether as a team or with an individual, such as a team member or coach. This is just a small list of possible crises that you as a head coach may have to address at one point in your career. The list includes, but is definitely not limited to: a coach is under investigation for misconduct of a player. A player dies while under the supervision of a coach. A player is arrested for rape or other sexual assault. A player is arrested for underage drinking or use of drugs. A valuable player is now ineligible. An assistant coach makes a recruiting violation. Finally, a player is injured in the weight room, resulting in paralysis. When dealing with a crisis, your role as a head coach will vary greatly depending on what level you are coaching at and what the crisis is. To help guide you, Professor Mullins and I have developed a 4-step process. Step 1, assess what the crisis is. Get an idea of what happened and who is involved. Step 2, decide whether it needs to be handled externally, which would involve your superior, or internally, which would include your coaching staff. If the crisis can be dealt with internally, handle the crisis according to your team policies and rules. If the crisis cannot be handled internally, report the crisis to the proper authority and resume your normal coaching duties. If there ever is a question as to how to deal with a crisis or who should be informed, discuss the situation with your superior. Step 4, once the crisis is resolved, reflect on what changes need to be made in hope of preventing a future crisis. To demonstrate how to use this 4-step process, I will give you 2 crises that you may have to deal with in your coaching career. Crisis 1. 2 athletes on your team get into a physical altercation. Step 1, break up the fight and determine why they are fighting. Step 2, determine if this situation should be handled internally or externally. For this example, it was determined that they got in a fight because one athlete felt that the other was being too aggressive and taking cheap shots at him in practice. This situation can be handled internally. Step 3, based on your policies and team rules, punish both athletes accordingly. Step 4, resume normal coaching duties and remind your team that physical altercations are against team rules. The other crisis example is that your assistant coach has been accused of misconduct by a player. Step 1, assess the information you are given. Step 2, determine if this situation needs to be handled internally or externally. Step 3, report the information to the proper authorities. This may be your athletic director and/or principal. Step 4, reassure the team and continue on with normal coaching duties. There are steps that you as a coach can take to defend against disciplinary problems or a possible crisis. This is done through preventive discipline. The 6 offensive steps include: create the right team culture, hold team meetings, develop team rules, create team routines, conduct exciting practices, and catch them doing good. Create the right team culture. Create a team culture that is based on caring and kindness, as well as firmness. Do this by learning who your athletes are. Listen to them. Respect them enough to involve them with decision making when appropriate, and encourage them to see mistakes as opportunities. When your athletes feel cared about, they are more likely to cooperate than misbehave. Coaches who are positive and encourage their athletes will create a team culture that nurtures winning attitudes. As a head coach, it is your responsibility to create a culture that is a safe environment, both physically and psychologically. Hold team meetings. While most meetings are held to discuss performance, be sure to not only focus on errors. Within your meetings, it is a good time to discuss other information. Make sure you communicate with your entire team, your coaching staff as well, what is expected from them. Provide them with information that will better them as an athlete and a team. This may include proper nutrition, muscular strength and endurance training, or other types of training to do in the off-season. Discuss character education. Talk about good or poor sportsmanship and how it reflects on the team as well as the individual. Develop consequences for violations of team rules and make sure each team member understands these rules. Team meetings can also be a good way to problem solve. For example, if your team is struggling with a particular aspect of the game, see if the team can identify the cause and come up with possible solutions. Finally, team meetings allow for the opportunity to exchange compliments. Develop team rules. Rules are best when they describe specific behaviors that can be observed and enforced. As the coach, develop a list of rules that are needed to govern team behavior. You can develop this list on your own or as a team. Make sure the rules reflect mutual respect and responsibility between you and your athletes. Make the rules specific and clear to eliminate any confusion. Establish logical consequences for rule violations. Finally, make sure you apply the rules consistently and fairly to all of your athletes. Create team routines. Having a routine lets your athletes know what to do in certain situations and can help build team camaraderie. Routines also help reduce the time you must instruct or supervise your athletes. You may want to develop pre-practice routines. This may include that all athletes need to be dressed and warmed up by a certain time and meet at center court, showing that they are ready for practice to begin. Another routine may be done when transitioning from one drill to another. For example, you may meet at center court to review the next drill, and when the coach is done explaining the drill, athletes are expected to sprint to their drill location on the whistle. Post-practice routines are also a good thing to develop. This may be a time to highlight an athlete for working hard and allowing them to recognize what they felt went well in practice. Pre- and post-test contests routines are also helpful. For example, prior to all home contests, players must eat together and then walk to the gym together, and then be dressed by a certain time. Following the contest, players may be allowed to leave after the coach speaks. Travel routines may include what the players are expected to wear and also the time and location of departure. Routines are good at eliminating uncertainty for athletes. Conducting exciting practices. Athletes who are bored will find ways to entertain themselves both on and off the playing field. For each practice, have a well-planned out practice plan. Try to keep everyone busy and involved because athletes who are standing around will get bored. Teach skills using progressions that are appropriate for your athletes. This way, your athletes will get to experience success and enjoy learning. Finally, try to replace drills with game-like activities whenever possible. Catch them doing good. Recognize and reward appropriate behavior. By doing this, you will reinforce that appropriate behavior. Recognizing an athlete's good work and behavior will help create a positive rapport between you and your athletes. Remember that your athletes have other interests outside of your sport. You can extend your praise for good grades, public service, other activities they are involved in, such as speech or play performances, as well as helping teammates and classmates outside of the sport. Team rule violations may occur as well as a crisis from time to time in your coaching career. Now you have an idea of how to handle these situations and steps you can take in hopes to prevent those situations from occurring. A few lectures ago, I offered an opportunity to earn extra credit for your foreign grade. For this opportunity, I will give you up to 1 full point back on your lowest assignment grade so far. To earn up to 1 point back, email me your favorite food to krm@reinhardt.edu.